walk.
Who was your favorite teacher?
Miss, what was I thinking of her name? She died. Oh man. She died of diabetes. And she was always so good to me. I think she knew we were poor. It seemed like I used to stay after school and clean erasers. That you remember when they go out and they had a thing bush that you could go like that and clean the erasers and mulch the board. I don't know why I can't remember their names anymore.
Do you know what grade it was?
Nice. They were all nice. No one treated me bad.
What was special about this teacher?
Well, she was just nice to me, and I felt like it was really pretty important that she let me clean her erasers and wash her blackboard. Remember, she died of diabetes. I think it was diabetes. Yeah, I know it was diabetes because one time she had, I'm not going to finish that because I can't remember all of it.
What games did you play at recess?
Well, we used to go out jump the barrel, and we swing on swings. And let's see what else we play. Hopscotch. About me, Richard. Hopscotch and jump the barrel.
Did you take your lunch or purchase a lunch at school?
Pardon?
Did you take your lunch or purchase your lunch?
I know what. At first, I walked home. We walked home, and then we got a cafeteria. So late in the cafeteria. Mom always had dinner ready, and I was kind of late to get back to school. I remember that.
What subjects did you study in school?
Subjects? Well, about English and math and history. And it seemed like we studied geography, spelling. That was my best subject. Did I say arithmetic? Oh, writing, penmanship. Where you learn to write your circles first and go backwards and up and then.
What were some types of rewards and punishments used by teachers at your elementary school?
What kind
What types of reward and punishments were used by teachers?
of teachers punishment? I don't remember any punishment, and can't remember. I don't even know. I don't remember any rewards. I must have not got any.
Is there anything else you would like to tell me about your school days?
About my school day. I was thinking now we're talking just about the grade school. It's about grade school?
Yes.
Okay. What do I remember about it? Well, I remember one girl. Now this isn't nice. I remember one girl. Oh, I don't have to tell. Anyway, and what do I remember about it? Well, I remember we got to school. We had bells that told us when to come in. And then we would start our subjects. And then we'd have recess. And then we go back to school. Once in a while, they'd have kind of a May Day. And remember one year, the teacher likes to have costumes, and she sent the pattern home for Mom to make. And Mom said, "No, I don't. I think this is too brief for you to wear." So we took the pattern back, and it was pretty great. We had we always had nice May Day programs. All those classes, grade school classes. It was fun. And I remember in high school, see, we lived across the tracks in Honeyburg. That put us in the low branch because me and my dad worked in a railroad. And that put you, no matter how good you are, that you still were in the class across the tracks. And I couldn't believe that when the junior and senior prom, the mothers cooked the meal, and they asked me to wait on the tables, and I was from across the track. And that was such a memorial time. They made a difference in people when we went to school. It's altogether who you were.
So they treated you different because you lived somewhere different.
Yeah.
So you lived across the tracks, so you were in a different, you were separated
Yeah.
from people that weren't across the tracks.
Or when well, they talked to you, but you wouldn't be included in things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like at prom, you said you had to serve food?
I used to be in the athletics, and therefore I was a little, well, sometimes. But they made a difference to all of us.
Yeah.
And some of the people were real. I remember this one guy couldn't learn. He wasn't dumb, but he couldn't learn.
Yeah.
Now he could do other things, but he couldn't learn. And they held him back. I don't know how many times they held him back, because when he got in the same class I was, which I can't remember, either 6th or 7th, no, 7th grade going across them. Anyway, he was so big that he couldn't fit in one of those desks.
Gotcha.
And his feet were always hanging out in the aisle, and the teacher kind of made attacked him for that. I felt so sorry for him.
Oh, so the teacher gave
I
him a hard
think
time for
he
that.
quit school at 16.
'Cause, I mean, yeah, we got held back a lot.
And there were a lot of kids quit at 16 at my time.
So when you turn 16, they just drop out of school, start
When I
working.
turned 16, I was married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Grandpa was he in the war at that point?
See, I was just average student, not real good. And I hate to say this, but I think when I look back, I think about our living conditions. We had a kitchen and a dining room, no heat in the dining room. And we had hardly any place to sit and study.
Gotcha.
And I didn't want to anyway.
Yeah.
See,
No, but yeah, I understand that. So, how old were you when the Great Depression would that hit?
when what?
How old were you when the Great Depression hit? 29. In 1929, when the Great Depression hit, how old were you then?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I remember that. Mom always said, her and Dad always talk about the Depression and how bad things were. And I could never understand that things were bad. Because, we always had food and clothes. And like Dad would fix our shoes. And everybody else around our area did things like that.
How'd they fix your shoes and stuff? What'd they do to do that?
I remember Dad bought one, we had one of these things that you put shoes on, and we would go to the dime store and you could buy rubber soles, and that's what he would put on our shoes.
Just to make them new again
Yeah.
on the bottom?
And see, I knew no difference. I thought, well, when Roosevelt got in, I didn't know much about politics.
Yeah.
But I do remember Mom talking about the hardships. And we always seemed like we had everything we needed. And when Roosevelt got in, then they talked about the difference. See what?
Between Hoover, because Hoover was president.
Roosevelt.
Before Roosevelt was Hoover, and he didn't really do much.
I know, she said that's one thing about Hoover. See, I knew nothing about politics.
No, well, you were really little, too, at the time.
But I know when Roosevelt got in, it seemed like things perked up.
Yeah, he started creating jobs, and
I think he started some kind of planting trees, or
yeah, that was
putting the
one
barracks.
of his.
He built barracks.
That was one of his. Yeah, one of his New Deal plans was planting trees and creating
That was-
jobs for
That
people to
was
do.
Yeah, I think some of those guys were pretty young.
What about during World War II?
World War II. Well, then food was rationed. You had to get stamps.
Yeah, rations.
Yes.
Yeah,
And then you had to get it for gas.
yeah.
Was it sugar too?
So what'd you do during that time?
Well, we didn't have a car, so it didn't matter.
Yeah. Did you still live in Huntingburg?
We still lived in Huntingburg, but we didn't have a car. We didn't have a car until my brother bought one.
Yeah.
And then he died. He killed in the airplane, and then Mom and Dad had his car. It was
Gotcha.
an old one.
How old was he when he died? He died in a plane crash, right?
He was young.
Yeah.
He had he wanted to go into the service, and he was working in a water plant at
Yeah.
night, and they found a spot on his lung. And they told him that maybe if he would get a job in the sunshine,
Yeah.
it would cure her up. But apparently it didn't, because he never got the job.
Gotcha.
He was young. Yeah, he was really young, and he was a good guy.
What'd you do while Grandpa was away in the war?
With what?
What'd you do when Grandpa was away in the war, in World War II?
Oh, I lived with his parents.
You lived with his parents?
Yeah, because somewhere sold the apartment, and they wanted to. Well, I went over to tell the people we get out as soon as we can. They said the landlord said you could go right away. And he had a place for me to move.
Gotcha.
And so we didn't know what we were going to do because he wanted me, the apartment his mom was in. And I thought, oh, I don't know. And so Eddie's, all of a sudden, Eddie's mother came up. And she said, why don't you and Patty move in with us? Because she worked at night.
Patty was a baby, right, at the time?
She was a young girl.
Yeah.
And she said, because I got Rosalie, a young teenager. That way I feel safe if you be here with her.
Yeah.
And so Eddie said, let's just do that. And that's what we did.
Gotcha.
We lived with her. Lived with them.
You and Patty?
Me and Patty.
Okay. And how long was Grandpa gone?
You know, I think about 11 months.
11 months.
I think. He was overseas. He was overseas for a while. I don't know if 11, I don't know. There's 11 months in my head.
Was he, was Patty born before he left?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then,
But yeah.
okay. And then he left, and when he came back, she was older.
He couldn't believe how she had grown.
Yeah.
Did you get everything you need, hon?